Hey guys, Anubis here, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. Kind of did that a little backwards that time, but it's okay. Anyways, today we're going to be doing a look over of my PC. I'm going to show you the overclocks, I'm going to show you the components that I'm using, I'm going to show you the temps, all that good stuff. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. And later on in the video, I will be adding a snippet. It's a few minute long segment of me actually showing you guys the PC itself and going over the parts and what have you. So make sure to stay tuned for that. But as you can see, I got some specs pulled up here on screen, so we're going to go over that. What I'm using right now is the AMD Ryzen 5 5600X. Super solid CPU, like I mentioned the other day in my build guide video, and it's just a really good chip. And I was able to get it up to 4850 megahertz for my PBO Max overclock, and it's only 200 megahertz, but it does help. It's it's something. Um, I never go crazy with overclocks when I do them anyways, so it's not a super huge deal. And then we got, for the motherboard, I'm using a Gigabyte B550M Aorus Pro P. Really good motherboard. I really like it. It was well worth the money. I think I paid like 140, 150 for it at the time. And I think it's, a little bit less than that now. I think it's like 130 or something like that. So, but it's a super solid motherboard, and you'll see later on in the clip that I show that the MOSFETs and what have you have really good like heat sinks on them, so they stay nice and cooled off. I got lots of, you know, air circulating around in there, tons of fans, so everything's staying nice and cool. No issues with the power delivery or MOSFETs overheating or anything like that. So, super solid. And then my GPU, it's the RTX 2060 Super. Nothing crazy, but I'm actually in the process of trying to sell that because if I can sell that, I will be able to get a 3070 Ti, which I'm super excited to get. Hopefully I can get it. Um, but yeah, that'll be a huge upgrade, and I'll be able to max out my frame rates in game, which I can do on most games with this GPU, but I also plan on upgrading my monitor too, and my monitor's really finicky, and if it stays off for like more than a day or two, it you go to turn it on, and it's all kinds of weirdness. So yeah, I need a new monitor pretty bad, but it is what it is. We'll get around to that for sure. I definitely need to get one of those here in a couple months when I get the money. But in terms of overclocking, I already mentioned the CPU overclock, and then the GPU overclock. Again, I didn't go real crazy. I didn't increase the core voltage or anything like that because I mean that just adds heat to the system. And I mean, not that my cooling capabilities and everything wouldn't be able to handle it. It's just, I don't know. It's a personal thing of mine. I like to have as much airflow and cooling and cool components as I can get. So I like to keep my temps really low, which at the moment I do achieve. And even here with the overclock, my power draw isn't too crazy on the GPU, but the GPU is, it's an entry level card anyway, so its power draw isn't going to be significant regardless. But yeah, so I keep the core voltage off, but even with the overclock, it only pulls about 200 watts, so not that bad. Doesn't get too hot. So we got a plus 75 on the core clock for the overclock, and then we got just a standard plus 500 on the memory. Nothing too crazy, and then we got the power limit and temp limit maxed out, which I never reach either one of those anyways. Not with this kind of lower overclock setting. So nothing too crazy, but every little bit helps a little bit. So as far as temps are really good on my system. They're never bad. I've never had an issue with overheating or anything. Before I got the case I have now, though, temps were a lot worse. The old case I had was, it wasn't the coolest thing, but it wasn't like a super hot box either. So, but they're definitely better with the Lian Li Langcool 2 mesh. Really good airflow case for sure. So right now on the GPU, we're sitting at about 36 degrees idle, so that's not too bad. I mean, that's pretty low in game. When I'm playing a game, it usually doesn't get over like 50 or 60 anyway. Um, Usually about 60 degrees, whether the air's on or off. So I mean, that's a far cry from that 80-degree limit. So no issues there. And then on the CPU, our CPU package temps are about 52 degrees right now. And that's partly because we're recording, and also I don't have my air on and it's getting pretty hot in here. So the CPU temps are going up because it's under load and everything. But normally when I'm in game, the CPU doesn't get any hotter than this. Like, unless it gets really hot in my apartment, it rarely hits 60 degrees. Like, where it's at right now, around the 52 on the package, 50 on the die. You know, that's about average for when I'm recording or gaming or both. So that's really not that bad. I mean, considering that the max temperature is like 100 degrees, that's still a very far cry being under load. Idle temps are usually about anywhere from 32 to 34, sometimes 36, depending on the apartment temperature. So, I mean, that's still really good. For idle temps, that's about what you would expect for AIO cooling, because I do have liquid cooling in my PC. So, that's not bad at all. And, for being under load, 50 degrees, that's pretty damn good. But you'll see later on when I add the snippet of video footage that I have shown my PC, you'll see the water cooling and all that. I really like it. I pretty much went with an all white and black theme. Changed the lighting. The lighting used to be all white as well, but I changed that up recently. I got kind of bored of just white. But it did look really nice. When I first built the PC, I called it Project Snow White, so you'll see what I mean by that. But why don't we go ahead? I think this is a perfect time. I'm gonna throw in that video segment of showing off my PC, and enjoy. Alright guys, so this is my PC setup. My front fans actually aren't the color they're supposed to be. They're supposed to match the Corsair fans at the top there and be green, but yeah. That's just because I haven't done, for some reason my Aura Sync doesn't save when I restart my PC, so for some reason it gets stuck on Gigabyte Orange. Anyways, yeah, this is my setup. I got my Arctis 5, I believe it's Arctis 5 headset, super solid headset. The 7 is really good though. Got my Xbox controller there. The mouse I'm using is the Logitech G502 Lightspeed. Love this mouse. It's an 8-button mouse and has pretty high DPI if you choose to use that. I don't. I stick with like 1600 DPI. That's just what I'm comfortable with. I have an Asus Strix ROG keyboard. I can't remember the name of it, the model. So excuse me for that one. Super solid keyboard though, super clicky. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Tactical clicky click. I don't use the monitor sound or computer speakers. I actually opted in for a decent cheap sound bar. I think I paid like $150 for this one. It's a Pyle 200 watt or 150 watt soundbar, I believe. No subwoofer included, just a soundbar. I think it's a 5-to-1 channel or a 5-channel, and it has an optical input on the back that I have going directly into the back of my motherboard because my motherboard supports optical in or optical out, excuse me. And I guess the monitor, I'm getting a new monitor actually, probably in a couple months when I get the money. And I really need it because this monitor, for some reason, when I turn it off and I leave it off for like a couple days,
because I don't always play games, but when I leave it off for like a couple days or so, and I turn it back on, and I turn my computer on or whatever, uh, it looks like an old CRTV from like the mid '90s, where it just gets fuzzy from like almost halfway the screen down, and it stays like that for like 10 minutes. It's almost like it has to warm up like one of those old CTVs from the 90s. It's super annoying. There's something wrong with the HDMI input. The 144 hertz one, because I plugged it into the 60 hertz one, works just fine, so I know it's not my GPU. Speaking of my GPU though, that's getting upgraded soon. I'm actually in the process of trying to sell it. I'll go ahead and open up the chassis so you can see inside. I gotta move my controller. The case I am using is the Lian Li LANCool 2 Mesh. I love this case. Easy to work in. Lots of cable management on the back. And just a really nice case. It's got a little basement here. I wish it had more of a cover instead of just this white mesh, because you can still see through it when you got RGB, which kind of sucks, especially considering I'm not the best with cable management. Right now I'm rocking a Rosewill ARC 650 watt power supply, bronze rated. I don't like Rosewill. I don't recommend them. It was just what I could get for the money at the time. Excuse me. Then I got my RTX 2060 Super, which soon will be hopefully getting upgraded to an RTX 3070 Ti, which is way more powerful. Was going to get a 3080, but honestly I can save like 100, 150 bucks if I opt in for the 3070 Ti and just overclock it a little bit. It'll be the same exact performance, if not better than a 3080 stock. So, and then for the CPU, 5600X, super solid CPU, clocked to 4.85 gigahertz. I can run most of my games 144 FPS hertz locked. Some of them being an exception that are more demanding, but that can't really be helped until I get a better GPU. My CPU will be good for years to come. I have it liquid cooled. I have the Lian Li Galahad white version of the AIO. It's a 360 rad. And so that helps cool that. Never have an overheating problem. Never gets above 60 degrees ever, even in my apartment that's small and gets very hot if I don't have the air on. With the air conditioning on, it stays below 50, like in the low 40s. So stays really nice and cool. Same with the GPU. GPU doesn't get very hot. In total, I have, let's see, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 fans in here. And so that helps with keeping it cool. The motherboard is a Gigabyte Aorus Pro P MATX version. And then I have a 1 terabyte Samsung 970 EVO for my one of my game drives. That's a 1 terabyte. And then I also have a couple more drives down in my drive bays. I have a regular SSD that I believe is for that's my boot drive. That's 500 gigabytes. And then I have a 4 terabyte hard disk drive for all my other games, content creation, etc. And then for my memory or my RAM, I have 32 gigabytes of CL18 3600 megahertz RAM. So super solid RAM. And I think that pretty much covers everything in here. But yeah, nice little build. I really like it. I actually used to have the fans all white. And I just felt like changing it one day. So that's that. And we'll get back to the video.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little segment there. If you did, let me know. And I think if and when, I'm really hoping I should be able to get it. But once I get my 3070 Ti, I'll do an unboxing video of that too, and maybe we'll go over like some performance charts and just play some games, see how they perform, and maybe try some overclocking or something like that. But it's an idea. So, anyways, let me know, guys, if you like the video. Leave a like. You can subscribe for more. Um, and in the comments, let me know what you thought of the video and if there's any ideas that you have of what you would like to see in the future or what you think would be cool. Feel free to let me know and I will mull it over and see what I can come up with. But that's going to be it for today, guys. This is Anubis, and I'll catch you on the next one.